What's up, everybody? I'm Marcus.
And I'm Ryan.
And together, we are the Northwest Sports Fanatics. We at you guys with our daily Northwest Sports Fanatics news,
rumors,
highlights coming soon, I promise y'all. Updates, gossip, signings, letting loose, cuttings,
right?
Amnesty, whatever it is to update. We're back at you guys today to update it. Let's kick it off into what's going on right now in the world of Major League Baseball. It's an all-star game,
right? So this is like a little all-star weekend, even though it kind of started yesterday. Mm-hmm. So just wanted to briefly go over what happened yesterday in the home run derby.
Okay.
So we had last year's champ, Yoenis Cespedes, kind of show his muscle last year and prove everyone he might be the next Frank Thomas. Someone that's kind of burly that's going to get those home runs.
I like that comparison.
Right, and he ended up winning the home run title again.
He did
last night, and it's the first time in about 15 years, since 1998-99, since my favorite guy, Mr. Ken Griffey Jr., won it back to back. So shout out to Cespedes, for having that accomplishment, and obviously the All-Star game is on currently right now. We're actually watching it.
Right.
It's been a great game so far. Jeter's last hurrah started off the game 2 for 2. Got a double on his first hit. Had the crowd chant his name. The crowd was juiced. Got a single after that. So crowd has been energized. Right now it's 5-3. I think in the 6th inning. So we'll have to see what happens.
Still going on. Right. Come on, National League.
Right, National League's ahead 5-3. So it's been an exciting game.
How awesome is it to watch Derek Jeter last time in the All-Star game?
Right. It's pretty exciting. In the last 3 years, we've got to see 3 legends go. We got to see Chipper Jones, right, 3 years ago, or 2 years ago. Last year, we had Mariano Rivera, the best closer in not only Yankees history, but maybe baseball history. And then the legend himself, Mr. November, Derek Jeter.
So that's 3 Hall of Famers.
Right.
And update for you guys, we are watching the All-Star game, and we giving y'all news. That just shows to show y'all we are the Northwest Sports Fanatics.
Multitasking. That's what we do. So let's shift forward off from baseball, right? We're going to go to basketball.
Ball in,
right? And NBA, right? So we're going to talk about head coaching positions real briefly. So the Lakers.
Did they finally fill their spot?
Not yet, but they're getting close. So the Lake Showtime, right? They need a coach.
Yes,
Kobe needs somebody to lead the way, right? And Phil Jackson obviously is taking control of New York, so you can't rely on him. So they're going to bring in Byron Scott for the 3rd interview.
Nice.
All right, so not 1, not 2, but the 3rd interview, right? And he played 11 out of his 14 seasons with the Lakers. So they like to keep their
former teammate of Kobe.
Right, teammate of Kobe in the past.
When Kobe was younger.
Right, and they've kind of looked at quite a few coaches though. So maybe Byron Scott isn't too sure of himself. They've looked at Mike Dunleavy, right? Obviously, they've looked at Kurt Rambis, the former player of the Lakers, actually who signed an assistant job with the Knicks, because maybe he's better friends with Phil over there in New York. Alvin Gentry, but he just got a position with the Warriors. So, but he was looked at.
Former Suns coach.
Right, absolutely. Lionel Hollins, who just got picked up, obviously recently by the Nets, so that can't happen. And George Karl. So obviously it looks like George Karl's not really thinking about coaching right now because that would be the best name to go out of all those names in the bag. But look for Byron Scott maybe to get this job within the next week or so. I think it would be a good fit. He had a pretty good little start early in his career.
But he's with the Hornets.
With the Hornets, right?
And then he went to Cleveland.
Right.
Kind of had a monkey wrench in the game when he went to Cleveland. So he had a real couple of bad teams for a couple of years.
But they did have CP3, and then they had the whole give and go and the whole alley-oop
with Tyson
Chandler. So they had they had a couple exciting years. But look out for that. Any other NBA news, rumors?
Other NBA news, of course. With LeBron gone and everything, the Miami Heat, I think they're still taking care of business to make sure they field a competitive team. And one of the keys to do that was re-signing Dwayne Wade.
Okay, Mr. Flash.
Mr. Flash himself, he's not the Flash of old, but he still can do it in spurts. He had a great year last year. A lot of players would be proud of these numbers. 19 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists for the whole year, and he shot a career high 55%.
Wow, unbelievable. At the end of his career,
pretty much. At the end of his career. Now, re-signing Wade, they re-signed Chalmers, Bosch, Luol Deng,
Birdman,
Danny Granger, and Josh McRoberts. So That's a pretty nice, respectable group of players there, and he also took a $5 million pay cut to stay in Miami.
So that shows what kind of man he really is, you know what I mean? And also, it helped bring in Bosch to give him that extra year and that extra 20 mil. So instead of the 4 years around 80 to 90 to 100 million, he could get the 5 to close to 120, about 118. So that shows, you know, that he knew that if LeBron did leave, there's going to have to be some sacrifices made if you want to still be competitive at like a top 4 seed in the East, and he did. So shout out to Wade. You know, it is. And think about this: it is his team.
Of
you know,
course,
and, you know, he's been there from the very start with him and Shaq when they won the championship, and then obviously recently with the rings that they got with LeBron. So shout out to Wade for doing what you're doing. Any other news going on with NBA?
Yeah, we have one of Dwayne Wade's old running mates, Mr. Mike Miller.
All right, the shooter.
The shooter, very valuable 3-point shooter, 41% for his career.
Right, from the three.
Which is awesome. He's 34 years old. You know, he was offered a contract with the Denver Nuggets, 3 years, $12 million.
Okay.
You know what he said?
What did he say?
He said, "No, I'm going to Cleveland. I'm going to play with LeBron."
Well, who wouldn't?
So Cleveland, you got yourselves a bona fide shooter for 2 years, $5.5 million. It's about $6 million in the money difference, but I mean, you've Mike Miller. You've played in the league for a number of years. You made enough money. It's all about winning championships now.
Right, and I like that because that gives them a perennial 3-point threat if he can stay healthy. And like I said, I think he can stay healthy for at least about 60 to 65 games, if not more. And if he can give you that nice little playoff push with those threes, it could be real dangerous come playoff time next year.
Man, you got some players there. You got LeBron and you got Kyrie with Mike Miller stretching the floor.
Dion Waiters still. So they're putting together a nice little team out there in Cleveland. I guess that's the reason they're a 4-1 favorite right now to win the championship last year. Right, Wiggins and LeBron, number 1 pick and maybe the number 1 player in the world. Not bad.
Wow. Speaking of Wiggins, you know, there's been some trade talk going on about the Cavs trading for Mr. Kevin Love.
Mr. Kevin Love, Mr. Fundamental.
Exactly. The T-Wolves would love to trade with Cleveland for Kevin Love.
Right.
But Cleveland doesn't want to include Wiggins, so that's a smart move, and it looks like Wiggins is going to be staying put in Cleveland.
Right.
But another team is on Kevin Love's radar.
Okay.
Or they have Kevin Love on their radar, which is the Golden State Warriors.
Really?
Yeah. So they're at kind of a squabble, you know, tugging and pulling.
Right.
The T-Wolves want them to include Klay Thompson.
Okay.
Which is understandable.
Right.
You're giving away Kevin Love.
Right.
But the T-Wolves the Warriors don't want to trade Klay Thompson.
Right. I would almost assume that they would want someone like Klay Thompson and maybe Harrison Barnes together because you're going to need to get some good players because the rumor was before that it was going to be Anthony Bennett, former first-round pick of last year, who we don't really know yet if it's a flop pick or not. It's too early to say, you know what I mean? But you have him, and then Dion Waiters, a first-round draft pick for Kevin Love, was originally the assumption, and Wiggins was never really in the hunt to be traded, but I know people wanted to speculate, right? But if Golden State does give up Klay Thompson, I think they're going to have to give up a little bit more. It's not like they're going to give up Steph Curry on top of that, but you are going to have to give up a little bit more, I think, if they want that deal to happen besides the draft pick.
So the proposed trade right now for the Warriors, they're willing to trade for Kevin Love.
Okay.
It includes David Lee and Harrison Barnes.
Oh, wow.
And a potential first-round draft pick.
Okay.
So that's on the table right now. So stay tuned. We'll keep you guys updated if we hear any news on that Kevin Love trade.
And also, if you think about it, David Lee in return wouldn't be that bad because he's almost a double-double guy every night. I mean, when he's healthy, he's a 20-10 guy. And he's actually been really consistent as a power forward, you know, player in this league in the last 3 or 4 years. If you look down the stat line and compare him to all the other power forwards, he's right up there, right? Very underrated. So he might not be a Kevin Love, but he could be a Kevin Love 2.0, and it wouldn't really be too bad because you already know Kevin Love is probably leaving Minnesota, regardless if it's this year or next year. So you might as well get something for him.
So that's what the key is. They trying to make sure they get something for Kevin Love before he leaves.
All right. Any other NBA news that you got?
The last thing, you know, the Bulls signed Pau Gasol.
Okay.
So to make room for Pau Gasol, they amnestied Carlos Boozer.
And that was, I think, you know, people were kind of expecting that.
Yeah, it's been a long time coming. You know, the people in Chicago don't have too many kind of things to say about Mr. Boozer's play. And, you know, he signed a huge contract to come to Chicago from Utah, and to me personally, he hasn't lived up to that contract.
Yeah, it hasn't been the same since Jerry Sloan and Darren Williams in Utah, and it also freed up cap space for the European star that's coming over, Nikola Mirotic. So when he comes over, he's going to be another shooter, with Dougie McBuckets, Doug McDermott, and it's going to have a nice little scary squad with Jimmy Butler there. Hopefully Derrick Rose healthy. But I know some people are thinking, man, how are the Bulls going to be able to keep up with letting Boozer go? But they got a guy named Taj Gibson,
Sixth man of the year,
right? Sixth man of the year, just sitting there, and he can really fill the role. He's almost if I had to compare him to a player, a better version of Drew Gooden. Yeah. So if you look at that, that's not too bad, and it'll actually fill the role. I mean, if you're going to compare player for player, what do you think?
That's awesome. That's an awesome comparison. I have no disagreements with that comparison. Taj Gibson brings energy. He blocks shots. He can make the jumper, and he's aggressive. He's going to offensive rebound. He's going to go to the hole. He's going to get to the line. I love Taj Gibson.
Yeah, and I think he's probably out of the entire NBA. He's got to be probably the top 3 most improved player in the last couple of years. Yeah. He's really took his game to the next level, and I really appreciate the effort and the hustle diving on the floor that he's doing. So that should be a nice little fit to kind of maybe move into the starting lineup possibly, unless they go different lineups, small or big. So we'll have to wait and see.
Shout out to the Bulls. They making moves.
Chicago Bulls. We'll have to wait and see how the things turn out with Derrick Rose.
Any other news we got going on?
Last news here, we got NFL, right?
Okay. So it's right around the corner.
Right? I'm ready to eat it all up, right? So for NFL, we got 2 pieces of news. Number 1, the Dallas Cowboys, right? They got Tony Romo. They got a few backups. They decided to release backup quarterback Kyle Orton.
Okay.
All right. So this was something that he was kind of considering retirement.
Right.
He
was going to retire. And
right.
Whedon.
And obviously you got Brandon Whedon, formerly of the Browns, and then you got Caleb Haney as well. Guys aren't that good, but obviously they think Romo is going to be the guy, and he should be as long as he doesn't get injured. So that obviously is something that maybe might concern some Cowboy fans, but, he went 35-35 for his record career-wise, right? So it doesn't sound really that good, but if you look at his numbers, 83 touchdowns, 59 interceptions for his career. So actually a little bit better than most people think based on just the win-loss record. Right. The touchdown-to-interception ratio is much better. So I don't know if he'll get a job somewhere else, but the NFL always needs QBs. So don't be surprised if he maybe comes out of retirement and joins a squad that needs him.
He's one injury away.
One injury away, and he might be in there, hopefully for not our teams.
No, not for my team.
Right, no bull right there. So, and then last but not least, we're going to talk about a guy that's been in the headlines last week, Mr. Jimmy Graham.
Okay.
Is he a tight end?
Is
he a wide receiver? Can I get paid like a wide receiver? Can I get paid like a tight end? That's what's really going on right now, and there was a little back and forth. Drew Brees, obviously needs his number 1 guy.
Drew Brees has his back too.
Right? 4 years, $40 million. They finally got the deal done.
So
right?
He got his money.
Got his money. $21 million guaranteed. Getting paid, Mr. Jimmy Graham.
He deserves it.
Right? And now he becomes the highest paid tight end in NFL history. NFL history. All right? Last 3 years, if you look at these numbers, he definitely deserves this. Last 3 years, 36 touchdowns.
Wow.
Right? Ridiculous.
Number 1.
Right? 12 touchdowns per season on average.
Wow.
Right? And he averages 90 catches for about 1,200 yards.
A year.
You're
talking about a tight end.
A tight end. So I know a lot of people like Vernon Davis, and they like him as kind of the gold standard, but maybe Jimmy Graham. We'll have to see if he ends up leaving the Saints later on in his career, after the Drew Brees era, if he can do it somewhere else, maybe with a quarterback not as talented, and then he can really say, hey, I am the best no matter where I go. But for now, you got probably the best short quarterback of all time, right? 3 5,000-yard seasons in a row. He's pacing for 4, and I bet you he'll do it. Mm-hmm. Right? You got Brandon Cooks from Oregon State coming in, and that offense is going to be explosive. So, Jimmy Graham, salute to you. You got paid.
Congrats.
And
Jimmy Graham, $1.
Right, and one more thing, Jimmy Graham. You are a tight end. You are not a wide receiver. So that's it for news for today.
Yes, sir.
We're going to come with a new video for you tomorrow. Any news, rumors, obviously signings, firings. We're going to bring it all
highlights.
for you.
Oh, not the highlights.
Coming soon. But stay tuned for the next video. Share the page.
Yes, sir. Please, Northwest Sports Fanatics, like the page. Tell a friend to tell a friend.
Tell a friend. Northwest Sports Fanatics.
Let's get it.
Let's go, American League.
There
Griffey.
you go. I got my glasses on again for you.
Let's go, baby.